You don't got to tell me twice to dance, y'all. You know that.
Why don't you show us?
All right. We are continuing with this month's series, Holy Boldness. And today's topic is higher heights. So this idea of holy boldness is based on the truth that God, spirit, life, whatever word works for you, invites us, calls us, enlivens us to live with gusto, with enthusiasm, with aliveness, right? To experience the fullness of life because we are spirit in expression. So we as humans, just like all sentient beings, are the very expression of life itself. As some say, the hands and the feet of God. So spirit, this universal essence and presence, gets to know itself more fully through us. Through all that we create and feel and experience. Just like a knife cuts, yet it doesn't know itself as something that cuts unless it has something to cut. Is this making sense? So spirit just is this energy, yet it doesn't know itself as one who experiences unless we open to that and allow all that life is to be experienced through us. By setting our intentions, opening our hearts, desires to be fully expressed, right? We were not incarnated in this body in this particular time to simply play small and merely exist without allowing something to emerge through us. That is the spirit of life itself. So Dr. Holmes is the founder of this philosophy of the science of mind, which is our main teaching here at Ahava. And Holmes wrote that we are surrounded by an infinite possibility. It is goodness, life, law, reason, and it wishes to express through us. And that comes from the book, The Essential Ernest Holmes. So inherent in life is this impulse to grow and expand to higher and more evolved ways of being. Now, I just want to give a little caveat here because sometimes when we hear words like higher, we can think of a hierarchy. And it can kind of pull on those societal ways that we have created structures of hierarchy that then somehow this is better than that. So I want to kind of just presence that to allow that to be disillusioned. So when I'm talking about experiencing this higher heights or ascending to a higher consciousness, let us be careful not to let the ego grab a hold of that and think that there is something better than, or that some are better than, or that we are better than or less than. Simply, it is just the energetic nature of life. So I prefer to think of it like a spiral, right? Instead of like an ascension up. And as we are spiraling, it kind of also creates this ripple and this dynamic field all around us of that energy that we are. And if you look at nature, which I love to do as an example of this, nature itself is on this planet moving and growing up towards the light of the sun. So we have seeds, right, that then burst open and grow. And we have the blooms and the blossoms that always turn towards the light because they are attracted to that light, for they need the light to thrive. So how are we also as nature feeling this emerging resonance to go towards the light, and rather to grow towards the light? Yes? Inherent in us is this impulse to expand and evolve, and to evolve not only personally, but we can see this on the collective. We live in a field of pure potentiality, infinite possibilities, and yet the majority of humanity is still vibrating at this level, some may call it the 3D level, world of form, where we think that who we are is all of this stuff, and can forget that there is an inner essence that is leading and guiding us, calling us to open our heart and to be and to express the fullness of who we are, and not to be limited by the structures and the messages of the world around us. So the majority of humanity is still waking up from this sleepwalking state, the kind of default way of moving through life, which, as some, including Michael Beckwith, who we're studying right now in our visioning class, call the victim level of consciousness, right? So in this level of consciousness, we believe that life happens to us, right? That we are simply moving through the world but have no conscious creatorship around what is occurring. And so therefore, whatever shows up, it just is. Well, none that stink, right? And so you can, again, we bounce around in these levels of consciousness throughout our day. I think that's important to know, because the analytical ego part of the mind that can start to hear this and think, oh, well, have I ascended out of victim consciousness? And then we have a moment where we forget and we bring ourselves right back to that vibration, instead of remembering that it's temporary and that we are the creator, and we have this infinite power within us to shift our perspective and to tune our energy and intention to something greater, that of love and light. And through that, as the conduit of spirit itself, experience something different. So those of us in the room hearing this message today are a vibrational match, or else you wouldn't even be receiving this message, to waking up beyond the default network of status quo, life happens to me, to this next level and evolution and consciousness of life happens through me, right? We go next to this, we start to learn these practices and principles and say, okay, I am the creator. So actually from victim, it goes to me, to by me. And we start to create and make it happen. But then from that, we can get exhausted, because what's really running the show in by me consciousness is, again, the ego, our personality, our thoughts about who we are based on this current world of form. And yet it's an evolution. It's definitely a much more empowered place to be than just thinking we are victim to circumstance. And when we start to create, it's exciting, it's fun, and we start to build that muscle and manifesting and feeling our power. And then comes an even greater breakthrough of life happens through me. surrendering to that presence, knowing that it's spirit within that does the work. And with that, even greater things are possible. When we move, if you think about it as these different energy centers in our bodies that various ancient wisdom has taught us as the chakra systems, for example, we have the root energy, that red, that really grounded, very connected to the earth energy. And that's important to get in alignment with because we are living on this planet in this body at this time, right? And then we can move up and to the next energy center that is that creativity. And we move from there into our solar plexus and that yellow energy. And that is really the place of power, but yet it is still, in these lower three chakras, a place of power and empowerment of the ego. So I want to talk about today how to ascend to higher heights by opening to heart consciousness. Because this is where I feel we are as a collective, right? If you look back many, many centuries ago in that root chakra place, there were very barbaric times, all about sustaining life and fighting for the food and our natural, need to survive. And now as we're growing and moving and evolving through time, we are at this place of integrating into heart consciousness. And heart consciousness is one of love. Transcending this victim state and moving to a more empowered, heart-based, unitive consciousness. In this space of love and heart, we allow love to lead the way. And with that comes this awareness that we are not separate beings having to fight for what we want. We are, in fact, one collective whole. And so as we do our work, as we say every Sunday, global transformation through what? Personal evolution. So some may say, this new thought teaching is so selfish. It's just all about getting what you want. That's the nuance of it. Because we open to our heart and we do our spiritual practice and we focus on our little worlds, but we do it on behalf of the collective. And as we move into heart-based consciousness, the key here, the practice here, is to be of service, right? To move from just our own personal empowerment of this is mine to do and be and express in the world, which is great. And when we integrate it with our heart, we can see how can we do this on behalf of serving others and serving the collective. Each of us began to wake up on this evolutionary journey to our inherent power and potential. And we began to let go of outsourcing our good to something, anything outside of us, because that is simply giving our power away. But in these higher states of consciousness, we move into the heart, which knows no separation, which knows no lack, and we become a vibrational match to that of love and wholeness. So what exactly does this look like? Well, let's break it down a little bit, shall we? How do we integrate this heart consciousness? Well, like everything, it begins with awareness and willingness. So we first must become aware of where we are currently. We start where we're at. And we do this by noticing our everyday interactions. Are we getting triggered in traffic? Are we having conflict in our relationships? Are we feeling disconnect in our career or creativity, right? And then starting to reflect on what is the motivation behind my actions, my thoughts, my words, my deeds, right? And noticing, am I feeling like I have to make something happen, or that I need to be right in order to be safe or okay? Or are we willing to let love lead the way? And even more, are we willing to be love and to love ourselves? Loving ourselves is the deepest work we can do on this planet. And again, not from a selfish place, not from a vanity or egotistical place, but a deep self-love that comes when we remember who we are. That the light and love of God itself lives in, as, and through all beings. So we can tap into that love right here and to feel it, embody it, and then begin to be willing to see it showing up in every situation and beloved in front of us. So where once the victim may look at a situation and think, that person is doing something to me and I need to protect myself and I need to do this, that, and the other, the heart opens. I don't know what anything is for, but I'm willing to let love inform me. To take every moment, every opportunity, every situation in life to come in closer contact with that divine being of love. So we can do this in our everyday interactions. When we feel that, at least that's what it feels like for me, right? I've been studying a good bit around this vagal nerve theory, right? Fight or flight, this idea of our body being that guidepost, kind of indicator of what's going on. And often our body will give us clues, if we are paying attention, that will indicate when we are not an energetic match for something. And it doesn't mean that we have to leave. It means it's an opportunity to love ourselves and to transcend that situation. And from there, we may be guided to leave whatever it is, the job, the relationship, but more likely, as we begin to love ourselves and to heal our own core wounds that this situation is pointing to, things will shift and transform in ways that we could not even imagine if we were coming from life's happening to me, I have to make this work, right? Feel the energy difference, just even that of, I don't know, spirit, but something within me knows, let love lead the way. I'm feeling really triggered right now, right? So noticing, so back to this polyvagal thing, right? Our heart begins to pound, maybe your mouth gets dry. All of a sudden things might kind of seem foggy in the brain and kind of do a little, and in that moment, as we cultivate awareness, we can become more conscious that the best thing to do in that moment is to, what in a more practical way is called self-regulate, right? So our breath can bring it back to this moment. Taking a deep breath and breathing out slowly, counting to at least 8, exhaling longer than you inhale. That is a scientific practice on how to regulate your nervous system and to drop back down to that state of homeostasis as opposed to the fight or the flight or the fawn. The fawn is people-pleasing, by the way, or fainting. You know, it's amazing. Our bodies are amazing indicators for us. But, you know, often we think that we are somehow separate, like the body is separate from our spirit or our mind and our heart, and so the body's doing this weird thing, I don't know, we'll just go get it treated this way. What if we were to see ourselves as an integrated whole being and to ask our heart what it needs now? What is the message for me now? So, awareness in our everyday interaction. This is our playing field, right? It's not just in our personal practice of meditation and prayer where we are alone and it's easy to generate that feeling. It is in our everyday moments that we can walk in heart consciousness and be aware, listening to our cues from our body, breathing, and then inviting in love and asking, what would love do now? Meister Eckhart said, the eye in which I see God is the same eye in which God sees me. So as we begin to expand our vision and our awareness, to move from this victim consciousness, egoic mind, and into the creator consciousness of heart-centered, allowing love to lead the way, we can begin to transform not only our personal experience, but our collective. Grand rising, right? So we take these sacred, bold steps with faith and trust, continuing to do our spiritual work and to pay attention to each and every micro moment as an opportunity to move into our heart. And this is how we ascend to those higher hearts and those higher heights. Freudian slip, but that worked, right? To these higher hearts, right? Yes. So remember as well to have fun along the way. You know, if you start to take things too seriously, then we forget what it's all about, which this is just this world, this body, this planet. It's a playing field for God to know itself more fully. So let's have some fun. We are a unique, beautiful expression of life itself, loving and learning and evolving. So through it all, we're going to be aware, we're going to open to our heart, but I hope you remember to dance. Right. Okay. So let's take this into prayer. So grateful to open our hearts right here, right now. In recognition of the one life that is love, that is wholeness, that is peace. This one life that is living and moving and having its very way in, as, and through all beings. In, as, and through me. So grateful to recognize this truth and to know that love is all that there is. Love and only love. So I call forth the vibration of love to be fully embodied in my heart and mind now. To become heart and mind congruent. Opening up. Being willing to surrender to the love within, to love myself fully, allowing the space and grace of love itself. For what I know is that love is what is real. And love is waking up in each and every one of our hearts in this now eternal moment. And when we forget, we allow ourselves and each other the space and the grace to remember and to tune back to that frequency of love and let love lead the way. We are consciously co-creating a life of love that we love as love, for love is always the answer, and love is who we are. So I affirm and claim right here, right now, for each and every person hearing the sound of my voice, feeling this vibration, that love is the healer and a healing is happening now. I open my heart to be willing to allow this love and this grace to transform me now, to let go of any ways that my ego mind, those old patterns of lack and limitation and doubt and separation may have informed me that how to live life. I let go of those old patterns. Say, thank you, ego. You served me for a time, and now I'm letting love run the show. I choose to see myself brand new as I choose to see each and every other person in my life with the same love and grace as spirit and life does. So I open to this love now, and I let it be. So grateful, so grateful. And I release this word now into the action of the law that always says, what? Yes, it says yes. And no, it is done. And so it is. So it is, yes.